Trina here from Scrappy Horses. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I am working on a project where I have recycled a file folder. So let's get started and I'll tell you more about it as we move on. I'm working with the DCWV stack today, along with some cereal box and this folder. I also have just a piece of 8.5 by 11 folded into 3, sort of to give me an idea how large I want to make this. So I'm sort of figuring out here that if I make this at about 9 1/4 tall and cut it off at that seam, I should be able to get this about right. So now what I've done is I have folded in the front and the back to meet the corner, and now I'm going to cut off another about 1/4 to 1/2 inch. I just want to cut off that groove right there so it's totally straight. Now I am going to have room here to have pockets to put documents in. All right, so I'm moving on to my die cuts with a view here, paper, and I'm going to just eyeball it here. I'm not going to measure anything. I'm just sort of lining it up and marking the paper. And then I will come in and do the fronts of those flaps as well as this liner piece. Now the liner piece is going to go underneath, and I'm putting a really nice crisp crease in this. That way it will fold inside the folder, and you'll be able to see what I'm talking about when I put it in just a minute. I'm going to start off by just putting a little Distress Oxide ink, just sort of inking up the edges here. And I don't need to edge up the outside edges, just the top and the crease, because when I fold over, the outside edges will be hidden. So I'm going to go ahead and ink up all those papers, and then I will be adhering them onto the folder. Now, you might be thinking, what in the world do you need a documents folder for? Well, when we travel with horses, we have to carry health certificates with us as well as negative Coggins tests. So if we're pulled over in another state, we will have all those papers in place. And what I do is I just get the papers, put them in this documents folder, and then I just throw it in the glove compartment of the truck, and it's always with us. I learned this a long time ago when we were showing horses in 4-H, and you had to have paperwork for all your horses in 4-H to show. So what I would do is at the very beginning of the season, I would just put those right into the truck glove compartment, and then they were always there, and I never had to worry about packing them and remembering them. Now, the thing about traveling out of state is you always have to get new ones when you travel to a new destination, but you can use the same folder. All right, so here's that liner that I told you about, and I've used some tape to tape that in, and now I'm using my Fabri-Tac, and I'm just going over it. And now I'm just going to make sure that that is really inside the crease, and I'm just going to fold it over, and now it's in place. I'm going to go ahead and do the other side the exact same way. Double score tape, Fabri-Tac, and fold it over so it fits just right into that crease. Now I'm folding over the flaps, and I'll just adhere the decorative paper. And again, it's all die cuts with a view. And I'm using ATG with a little bit of Fabri-Tac over. Now, I like using Fabri-Tac over ATG. It gives me the option to move something if I don't like where it's sitting. If I just use the ATG or the double score tape, I'm pretty much stuck. So this gives me some wiggle room in case something doesn't line up exactly straight. And it just helps me out a little bit. And it really helps me out later on in this project. So you'll see what's going on there. I'm checking out now, do I really have room for my documents in here? I want to make sure I do that before I glue this. And I did. So I'm just taking and gluing the very edges now. and that will create the pocket then for my documents. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and put 2 pockets in. So we'll have 1 pocket on the right and 1 pocket on the left. So a little bit of Fabri-Tac here. I like using Fabri-Tac here instead of the tape because I find that when I slide things in with the tape, it sometimes gets hung up on the tape, whereas the glue just dries. All right, so now we're going to put the front and the back into place. I'm using double score tape for that, again, with a little bit of the Fabri-Tac, and I'll just adhere those the same way I've adhered the others. I've cut these letters out of cereal box, and I'm just going over them with a Pitt pen and then adding a little bit of a reddish brown, one of the E90s, I believe, and I'm just going over that a little bit with the Copic to give it a little more color. Now what I'm showing you here is that I kept the cereal box where I cut the letters. This gave me a nice straight line and gave me a pattern to actually set the letters down in with glue, and then I could just pull off the piece that you can see the arrow pointing to, and that got my letters glued on really straight because I'm not very good at that. So that might be a way to help you too if you have those problems getting things on there straight. I took my button and I've run my hemp cord through in an X pattern. Then I put a little bit of double score tape and Gorilla Glue. Now I'm cutting a double layer of cereal box. Gonna cut it into a circle and lay that on top. That will help me when I want to put that twine around. It kind of gives it a little more dimension. So I'm going to leave that on to dry, and then I'm going to add a little bit more of the double score tape and more Gorilla Glue. I'm going to set the entire thing aside to start drying. Right before it's dry, but it's tacky enough to catch, then I will put it on top of the documents folder. While I'm waiting on that, I'm going to go ahead and take my horse that I cut in Cricut Design Space, and I'm going to adhere that to an offset piece, again designed in Cricut Design Space, and cut there. I'm going to put this on with the double score tape and the Fabri-Tac, and this is where I'm so happy I put the Fabri-Tac on, because I put it on vertically and decided I want this document folder to go horizontally. It just makes more sense the way the flower is, and I just liked it better. So you'll see in the picture later that I moved it and it's laying the other way. So now I've got my button on there with Gorilla Glue, and I've got my little horse on there, and now this is how it works. You can just open it up and just slide your documents in and out. Hey, thanks so much for joining me today. This was a really quick trip through this video, and like I said, my first one for a while. I've taken some time off. I've been working with horses actually, but it's getting really, really hot, so I thought, let's just go ahead and do a video on this project. If you have any questions or comments, please don't hesitate to ask, because I did zip through pretty quickly. All right, have a great week, and I'll catch up with you in the next video. Bye.